All right, we'll call the meeting to order. Commissioner Gage, will you lead us in the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. First item on the agenda is to approve our agenda.
Second.
Motion by Weed, second by Gage. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. This time we'll open the meeting up for any public comments. Anyone wish to address the commission this morning on any issue that's not on the agenda? In person, on the phone, online? Hearing and seeing none, we will move on. Discuss the burn ban. I checked with emergency management this morning. Scott Meintz is recommending keeping it on at least for another week, putting it on the agenda again for discussion next week based on the forecast. The moisture probably and most likely will eliminate the need for it, but conditions have not improved since last week, so that's his recommendation, but I would open it up for any comments or recommendations from the commission. Scott Meintz is on. Scott, do you have anything you'd like to add?
Sorry, folks, I missed the first part of it, but, you know, we're still awful dry. We do have a little bit of moisture coming. At least one more week, I think, would be great.
All right. Anyone have any objections to that? I was contacted by one concerned landowner that we didn't follow the burn ban that we put in place, or the policy that we put in place a couple of years ago. But I believe I was told that there's an emergency clause in there that allows us to make that exception and take that action if it was felt necessary and it was an emergency situation. So unless there's any objection, we will just leave the burn ban.
Chairman?
Yes, Scott, go ahead.
Just a couple quick comments on that citizen that requested you. You know, we did look at that with the fire chiefs. It was talked about, and with no farmers really in the field yet, you know, to be burning stuff. We thought it was in our best interest to, you know, that would still work, and we could follow, you know, our ordinance, or, you know, as we get a little closer into springtime's work. The other issue that we talked about was, you know, none of our farmers have any tillage equipment hooked up. You know, with nobody in the field yet, it's hard to get that stuff out to give us a hand if we need it on a large fire. So that was talked about with our fire chiefs in our office. You know, and again, we felt that it was still in the best interest for public safety to go this route, and we understand what the ordinance, what we changed, and that's why the decision was made that way.
All right, thank you, Scott. We're not making this decision lightly. We're putting a lot of thought and consideration, and I know you and the fire chiefs have had numerous conversations, and I think based on your advice, I feel we should leave it in effect unless there's some objection to that. Anyone have any problem with leaving it in effect for another week and putting it on the agenda next week again?
Scott, am I correct in, over the last week, the fire index actually did reach that threshold for a period of time?
Yes, we were in the threshold a couple days over last weekend.
Yeah, I wasn't looking at it specifically, but as I recall, I believe we did have that a couple of the days in that, so it's not like we're not teetering on the edge of it.
Right.
Thank you.
All right, if there's nothing else, I don't think there's any action that we need to take. It is in effect. We'll leave it status quo for another week. And you can put it on the agenda again for next week, please. All right, move on to discuss community health contract for 2024. Ross, did you have an opportunity to review that contract at all?
I didn't see anything crazy in there.
Okay, I was informed this morning that apparently there are some counties that have some issues with it and are not going to be signing it as is. They're going to negotiate a different or lower price. Is that correct, Lynn, what you've been told? And I'm just wondering if we want to postpone deciding on that for another week to give us the opportunity to see what the other counties, what their issues are, what problems they have with it, and their rationale behind trying to get it lowered.
If the email I got was, I think some of the smaller counties just weren't satisfied with the level of service. And not really my area. I don't know exactly what they do for us and whether that matches up with the cost. But certainly if that's something you guys want to explore, at the time.
Anyone have a problem with us postponing decision for another week to research this a little further?
Has our part of that increased significantly or changed, or?
Do you know what the cost has been? I don't remember.
It's been roughly about the same.
So it hasn't been a big change or a huge increase, it's more an issue of services rendered in the smaller counties where they have less access.
Yeah.
And I
I know like
think-
Salt County is not finding it all,
Mm-hmm.
and not paying anything, they only have to make them like once a month type of deal, so.
And I think we have the luxury of having a physical presence on Main Street, and they usually come in every quarter and give us a report. But my question is, I don't know who all contributes to the Brown County Community Health Clinic. I don't know that. So that would be a question I would have is, does the Department of Health contribute? Is it a pro rata basis based
Mhm.
on a percentage? Because ours is, what, 21.2 or something, so that certainly isn't enough to maintain the office year-round with the nursing staff and what they provide, but I just don't know how the funding is provided.
Well, just as a refresher for us, I wouldn't be opposed to putting it off till next week and inviting them to come and give us a refresher and update on
Okay.
what the situation is for the funding and what other sources they have, and if they're willing to do that, which I hope and expect they probably are. Is that fair?
That sounds good to me, and since
So
it
do you
was,
want a motion to defer that to next week, or?
I think since it's on here as just discussed, it doesn't say anything about an authorized signature. We could just postpone it for a week.
Alright,
Do we need a motion to that
I would
effect?
do a motion.
Okay,
I'll move it.
okay, we have a motion by Weiss,
Under those circumstances. Second.
second by Gage to postpone the signing of the public health, or community health contract for 2024 for another week. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Not saying no, but just deserves a little more information at this point then.
Right. And if you want to reach out to them and see if they can come in and give us
I will do that.
a little further information. Brown County Fair sanitation and cleaning service proposals. They received two, you saw them in the packet. Fair Board met last Wednesday. Commissioner Dennert and I were in attendance at that meeting, and they recommend the $19,000 price tag. That we don't have a copy of, we have a copy of it, but the physical contract won't be in town until Thursday. I'll be gone, so I'm gonna have Commissioner Feldheim sign that when it gets here on Thursday, if it's approved today. But the Fair Board's recommendation is to approve the...
Move it.
Motion by Feldheim.
Second.
Second by Dennert. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Brings us to our consent calendar. Lynn?
Approval of the general meeting minutes of March 12th.
Move.
Motion by Gage, second by Feldheim, was it?
Weiss.
Weiss, okay. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Claims.
Move. Second.
Motion by Feldheim, second by Weiss. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
HR report.
Move. Second.
Motion by Dennert, second by Weiss. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Travel request.
Move. Second.
Motion by Feldheim, second by Weiss. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Claim assignments.
Move. Second.
Motion by Gage, second by Weiss. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Fair contract with Hub City Radio for advertising.
Move.
Motion by Dennert, second by Feldheim. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Approval of the South Dakota DOT pavement marking contract and authorize the chairman to sign.
Move.
Motion by Weiss. Second by Dennert. I did talk to Dirk Rogers yesterday. The highway superintendent's recommended a change in the way we've been doing it. It's just the same funding, still $500,000, but the way it's divvied up. It went through the highway commission, was approved. Actually, if you look at the breakdown, it's based on a per mile of paved highway in your county. And Brown County, I think, was the largest recipient of the funds, so I guess it pays to have a little extra blacktop, but that's the only advantage.
Put the watercolors down.
Right, so that was his explanation. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Weiss?
Motion by Weiss,
Second.
second by Gage. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
First lottery permit, change in the date.
Motion by Weiss,
Second.
second by Feldheim. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Approve the updated dive team list.
Motion by Weiss,
Second.
second by Gage. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Any other business come before the Brown County Commission this morning? Had a request to go into executive session for personnel. Any legal, Ross, contracts? Okay.
Before we do,
Okay.
we have Senator Representative Perry here this morning. Thank you for being here.
You're welcome.
I have a surprise question for you.
Okay.
Senate Bill 201.
Surprise, I don't know what it is, go ahead.
We have a question in the details of that, and I'm not gonna ask for your legal opinion, but just a little perspective on it being included in here. In Section 2, it talks about tax relief portion of the funding that's supposed to go to counties. And so we were having a conversation trying to understand just exactly what the intent of this was. So not necessarily your legal opinion, but you were there during the legislature, and I'll read it if you don't mind.
Yeah, no, really.
For clarification. At least, it talks about a fee that's gonna go to the counties per linear foot for an operating pipeline in each county. And item 1 under Section 2, at least 50% as tax relief for property in the county where the carbon dioxide pipeline is located, pro rata on a per foot basis to each property in the county upon which the pipeline is installed, or more at the discretion of the county. And so the question that we have, if this stands, and this continues to be part of this, is that pro rata to each parcel in the county that the pipeline's in, or each parcel that the pipeline runs through?
Where the pipeline is running through, I believe is what it's intended for, but,
It's not, but unfortunately, it's not clear. I apologize for interrupting.
that's a good question. 201 is been approved, and the governor has signed it. But there's a lot of people that are disputing it at this point, and there will be a referendum that'll be presented on the 25th to put this as a ballot initiative, because there's a lot of people that think there's too many loose ends like this. And I agree, there are a lot of loose ends. I voted no on 201, just so that you know where I voted. I think Brandy voted no, Northstroke voted no, Scott Moore voted no, but 38 people voted yes in the House, 31 voted no, so that means that the yeses won, so.
Yeah, and just, we would be responsible for trying to administer this portion of it, and it appears to be a little bit ambiguous as to whether or not it's every parcel in the county that the pipeline runs through, or every parcel that the pipeline itself runs through. We've, by consensus, and I don't mean to be speaking for the rest of the commissioners, feel it can be construed either way or both ways.
I think the intention that Will Mortensen is one of the authors of that bill, and he would be available. You could talk to him. But on that, it's for the portion of the pipeline that is in the county. So if you had a mile of pipeline and you got half of the dollar per linear foot, $1 per linear foot would be $5,280. So the landowner would get half of that, and you'd get the other half. That's kind of what I think.
So it's an additional benefit to a landowner that has an easement.
Well, it's not really, it's a benefit. It started off to be $1 for the landowner, and now it's 50 cents. So if you say cutting it in half is a benefit, then it's a benefit. For me, I would say that was not a benefit for the landowner, but it would be a benefit for the county, because before there was nothing for the county. So, but what they're doing, they're trying to appease you, because when they take your local control away, it's a way of saying, oh, we're taking your local control away, here's $2,400 for you. And you're supposed to smile and be happy, but if you have a $16 million budget and you get an extra, $3,000 or $50,000, that's really not enough to make up for all that, so.
So just to comment, if I can, if you divide it out per every landowner, which is not what your interpretation was, but if you did, the total property tax relief per parcel in Brown County would come to about $5 a parcel. So it's a pretty minuscule amount. Now, if you divide it out only among the parcels with pipeline running through, it's gonna be a lot more, like you said, but then it only affects a handful of people.
It's gonna be more, but it's not gonna be it's not gonna be a dramatic amount more.
Right.
But, thank you for the surprise question.
Well, the only reason I brought it up is because it's one detail in here that we would have some responsibility for administering, and there's a certain level of ambiguity from our perspective on how that would be handled, notwithstanding the totality of the rest of the impact on it, so.
The biggest problem that we have, and I appreciate your question a lot, Commissioner Weiss, and that is that we have so many bills that we work on, and there are some that go through local government, some that go through state affairs, and sometimes the only time you see them is when they hit the floor. And I try to look at all the bills ahead of time and try to read a lot of them, but this particular bill here has had a lot of contention on it. And the same thing with 1185 and 1186. Those were two that had a lot of contention too. And even though those three have passed, I don't think that everybody said, you know what, that was some of the best business, or some of the best legislation you guys have ever done. So, not everybody's happy.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, this was a relatively late in the process addition.
It was.
To the bill, so I just...
It was. We had, the problem with all this is you can have a bill and then you end up with an amendment, you end up with an amendment to the amendment and everything like that. And we have also some fortunate things that happened with these things, like on your county bill that you had where, on the roads. That was really fortunate because it worked out that the Department of Transportation had something to say, the city had something to say, the county had something to say, and so did the municipalities. They all said what they wanted to say, and they all started singing Kumbaya at the same time. So once in a while, everybody, when they're working in different ways, it works out really good. But on this one here, I don't think they've reached the point where everybody's happy. In fact, I think there's still a lot of angst out there, so.
Okay, well, there was just a little bit of ambiguity in, the intention of this, and I think it still stands based on, what's actually in there, notwithstanding the totality of it, so I appreciate the conversation.
And I'm not the scholar that wrote this. I'm one of the ones that voted against it, but my understanding is what I gave you, and it does not mean that is the way. It means that's how I understood it, okay?
That's what I wanted to know, so thank you, thanks for letting me have that conversation.
And sometimes the way things are written, you could interpret it two different ways.
Absolutely.
And that's quite clear with that paragraph, so.
Absolutely.
Yep. Everybody knows what the intent was, but it doesn't necessarily say that in so many words. All right.
Opinion.
You bet.
Thank you.
You bet. Thanks for the question, and thank you for the answer, Carl. Anything else before we go into executive session?
Move.
Second by Weiss, second by Dennert, to go into exec for personnel. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. We are, the light is back on. We are out of exec, back in session with no action as a result. Is there anything else to come before the Brown County Commission this morning?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Weiss.
Second.
Second by Gage to adjourn. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. We are adjourned.